India, 1.3 billion people, about 20% of the world's population, about 100 million school going children, about 6 million in elementary schools, and 2.5 million secondary schools, 40,000 colleges, 900 universities, and about 2.5 million registered nurses and 1 million auxiliary nurse midwives, and another million doctors, allopathic, 649,000 villages, 25,000 to 26,000 primary health centers, each employing about 15 to 20 health workers, and millions of farmers who grow and supply food. What has HRD done to all these people? All of them need continuous competence building, continuous motivation to be productive, to be sensitive to technological developments across the world, to find right markets, to build their own kind of skills. We have defined HRD as, at one point of time in the corporate sector context, competence building, culture building, and commitment building. And in the national context, we have defined HRD as a process by which people are helped to discover their inner potential, multiply their talent or potential, and apply it to make the economy, make the country develop. Human Development Report of UNDP defined the human development of a nation as one in which people know how to live longer, people have the right kind of a skill base, people are educated, have access to instruments that give them good quality of life, and therefore they live a good quality of life. I think this is a wonderful kind of a concept. But look at our HRD. Our HRD has limited itself to corporate sector, largely corporate sector. It is only in the recent past, here and there, you find stray examples of universities having a HR department, institutions having a HR department, or hospitals having a HR department. And of course, they are all establishing HR departments at a time we are saying that HR is the job of all, and you don't need to have a department to facilitate the HRD of all people working in an organization. We have come to the conclusion that every human being should take care of his or her own learning and development needs. If there is a HRD department, or if there is a HRD manager or a facilitator, for whatever name that he or she is known as, their job is to create the right environment in the organization, in the institution where he or she works, to enable people to continuously discover their competencies, learn from each other, and grow and contribute. So we have recommended that HR has to place itself in a new platform of becoming a self-redundant function by making everyone his or her own HR manager. Now apply this to farmers. Farmers have to be self-sufficient. Farmers have to acquire a capability to continuously learn from each other. They have to acquire a capability to learn from all possible sources, maybe about better way of producing or using the farmland that they have, or maybe discovering new markets where they can sell their produce, maybe discovering new sources of mobilizing resources that they are required, and so on. So I think the farming class, if you look at as a class, requires a lot of HRD, and today we don't have anyone other than maybe in the olden days what was called as a VLW, or a agriculture extension worker or block extension officer, to take care of their needs. In fact, they are not even equipped to understand the needs of the farming class, as they themselves may not be farmers by their own kind of an occupation. The same is true with schools, colleges. We need people to build elementary school teachers and their capabilities. In another video available on this channel, I have given a research study which was done almost about 50 years ago in Delhi, where we studied 50 primary school teachers and proved that the classroom behavior of the teacher has phenomenal impact on the mental health and personality development of children. If the teachers behave in a particular way, students take a lot of initiative, they like going to school and they learn a lot. And we also discovered that a large percentage of teachers do not have right insights into their own kind of classroom behavior. So therefore, there is a big HRD need to build these millions of teachers who are impacting the future of our country by preparing the right kind of personality for among the children. The same is true with colleges and universities. And the same is true with hospitals in terms of the nurses they employ, the technicians, the doctors they employ, and so on. So we need to really go a long way in terms of preparing our country to do real HRD. Real HRD means helping farmers to continuously learn and be a lot more productive to contribute to the GDP of our country. The same way, a large number of unorganized sector who are working as micro entrepreneurs, small scale entrepreneurs, to discover new ways of sourcing maybe finances, new ways of finding markets, new ways of discovering products, new way of helping other people to improve their own kind of a quality of life. Unfortunately, no one is looking at this set of people. The same may be true with even in the corporate sector with a large part of the workforce. HRD unfortunately has focused for a long time, much against our liking, on the managerial and supervisory class and has ignored the real doers of work, who are the grassroots level employees in the corporate sector, who includes the operators, software engineers maybe, and who includes the people who manually skilled or unskilled labor that produce and make a difference in the corporate sector. In earlier stages of National HRD Network, this criticism came up, and in the second conference itself, HRD Network focused on employees, the grassroots level employees, the unionized categories of employees. Unfortunately, after that, I think we started looking more at the global HRD rather than looking at the grassroots level HRD. It is only in the recent past National HRD Network has again started working on employee relations and looking at this neglected class. But we have a long way to go, friends. It is not enough to look at the corporate sector. While it is important to look at the corporate sector, it is important to move towards the small scale sector, for which there are no HR departments, there are no HR facilitators, where the owner himself or herself becomes the first HRD manager. The same way in terms of hospitals, where the doctors become themselves their own kind of HRD managers. So how do we facilitate continuous learning and create a learning culture and a knowledge economy in our entire country? I think it is the people with HR mindset, not necessarily those who are designated as HRD managers, who need to wake up and who need to think of mechanisms like the HRD network, NIPM or ISTD, which promotes to a large extent or to some extent the learning from each other in the corporate sector. So we need bodies like this, or we need mechanisms, we need to work out new mechanisms which use largely, I think, the technology that is available, the digital technology, to facilitate learning among masses, learning among nurses, learning among teachers, learning among doctors, learning among rural entrepreneurs, learning among panchayat presidents, learning among, I'm sure, even the political workers, more on the kind of values that are required, the kind of culture that we need to build and so on. So friends, I hope through this video you get a little insight in terms of the need for a different kind of human resource development intervention and different kind of HRD network for enhancing the country's capability to reach the 5 trillion economy. Thank you very much for listening to this little thought from me.